I'm assuming this is the order these would go in. Got a preamp with an on-off switch, right, and a volume or power, right. Then a preamp board, which has a volume. There's no switch in it. A treble, middle, and bass, supposedly, if that's correct. If not, I just wipe those off. But this is a left and a right in, left and right out. This has a left and a right, which actually are reversed, but I did it according to the card. And then this is a 100-watt power amplifier. This is just a connector plug, which I don't necessarily need to use. I can hard solder wires to that. But one goes out to the speaker and one goes to the power, or the other way around. I'm not sure which. I just taped these Lantone cards to the bottom to protect the solder joints. But there's some things like, well, I don't know. Yeah, see, there's like, in here, there's jumper areas. See? Boom, boom. And in this one, there's a jumper here that goes from the hot rail of the power, and it's underneath here. It's one side here, one side here, but it's confusing because, you know, this says, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. It's covered up. It's 12 volt. It says 12 volt AC, but on the advertisement it says DC, but it says AC on here, and this runs very, very weak. As a preamplifier by itself with a volume control, it's supposed to be a preamplifier for your phone or your iPod into powered speakers, but the volume is extremely low. It came with the wrong capacitors, and the guy wrote back to me, we don't have those. But the whole ad specifically describes the non-polarized axial metal film audiophile type capacitors and shows them, you know, and then I get these tight tolerance ceramics, which is fine. But you know, it's not what it was advertised. So I actually had 2 of these kits for that very reason. The only thing different was some slight values and the so-called brands of these capacitors, but these ones, and then they wrote back, we do not have that. Well, they should, you know, they advertise it, but so I would come out of here and then I would go into here. Or would I go through here first and then go through the tubes? I don't know. That will be interesting to consider. You know, I'm not sure about that. Because, you know, after it's EQ'd, you know, run it through the tubes for the sound. Because this is a 10 times. Yeah, you know what? That's just a 10 times amplification that would go into here. What would still be considered a line level. Wouldn't be very loud. So that would go first. Yeah. This is left and right out right here. Would go to a speaker maybe. So maybe this was supposed to go after the amplification. See, I don't know about things. Then this says this takes AC also, has hot, and ground. So it takes alternating current. And I had to look it up online, and it said 12 to 18 volts. And the way the guy wrote was very, you know, mocking and conceited. Like he said, I will not do your homework for you, and I guess these are my college lessons, whatever. You know, I just thought I would buy something that would help guide me into building it, but I did a very good job, as you can see. I've become very excellent at soldering. I've learned how to read some values of things. I've learned about how you know, people will write, well, like for instance, this one would be a good example of it, because on the positive side here, it has a plus and a minus and shows where the positive side is. Whilst on here, it has a half and half with a darkened side, which one would suspect, oh, the darkened side is positive. No, it's not. Darkened side is negative. And I learned that from an LED that wouldn't function on another project. So yeah, I learned things like that, and I learned about like values, like recognizing things like if it says 103 or 101, you know, I know that it's usually one of these little yellow, what's called a picofarad. I learned very basic things. My soldering skills have gotten more excellent, I would say, but you know, these cards are favorable as well. You know, this is not point to point stuff. You know, the solder is not going to chase over to the next thing, even if the flux wicks all the way across and around, which sometimes it does. The solder doesn't chase. And I learned about temperature also, like how these beads came through here on all these resistors, and then see temperature of the soldering iron matters too, like getting the legs heated up before the solder, whilst at the same time you don't want to leave the soldering iron on the components too long, so you want it hot enough that it heats up the component leg faster than it will heat the component. Things like that. And to pay attention, like I had soldered all these down before I'd put this on here. And then I learned about different circuit cards too, like for instance the printed circuit on this one. If you keep toying with it, the printed circuit can actually lift off. So yeah, I had to unsolder these to put these back on. It was a pain in the butt, but I did it. Came out all right. And like the heat on this was very intolerant to heat. That's why it's crooked. So are these things. I mean, I could have left them in just hard soldered wires to them. Probably would be. I could always unsolder them and do that. That's probably the neater way to go. But I need to figure out what order they're going to go in. 2 preamp, and then this, and then power amp. And out. Oh, maybe that's the way to go. But I don't know. I would think, since this creates a 10 plus, I would think I'd want to put it here, because this doesn't do much. I use it. It sounds great. It doesn't do much though. As far in the way of volume, I'd have it all the way maxed out. So I'm not sure. It'd be nice if someone could help me figure it all out. I've done such a nice job. I'd hate to, you know, fry it or blow it up for, you know, lack of understanding or ignorance on my part. Or yeah, I put caulking in between these and a zip tie around them, because I figured, you know, this is a power amp and it's going to go in a completed amplifier. Maybe these would bang around or vibrate around. I think I did have them standing up a little. No, yeah, I did. I had them standing up a little because I figured since this was a 100-watt board, these 4 capacitors would probably get a little bit on the hot side. So I raised them up and caulked them together and put a zip tie around them. Maybe not necessary, but I did it. This one also has jumpers. It has several jumpers. But I don't know, you know, what should be jumped and what should not. I don't know a lot, man. You know, I know how to glue things together very well. And I made a box, you know, whilst I may put this all together in one amplifier. I made a box, you know, and the whole thing may need to be shielded and shared grounded, and you know, I don't know yet, but that would, you know, and it would be elevated up a little in there. And there's the top, which I can put, you know, some air holes in here or air holes in here. Probably in here is easiest to drill. So that will probably fit into one of my other boxes that I I wonder. Yeah, I like to see electronics, you know. Let's see. These need to be trimmed up a little better. See if this is the right size here. I do not know. Boom, 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 boom. This was one of my pedal boxes. I had made an extra one because the Lantone pedals are so good sounding, with the exception of that tremolo. I do not like the tremolo. And it has nothing to do with the interference, because I know that's probably just due to shielding. I probably need to, connect ground and shield everything, which is not a big deal. But yeah, wow, that would actually fit in there. And drill the knobs through here, possibly, but that's a little thick walled. I don't know if that would work. That'd be cool. Have these all in little separate boxes, like a modular type amp that it could be taken apart at any time. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be super fresh. That's what I got, and I'm not sure. Yeah, that should go first because this gives 10 times amplification, supposedly because of these two op-amp chips, which this does not have. And this gives very low amplification, like it gives almost nothing. In fact, it seems like it decreases volume. It decreases volume, to be honest. So yeah, and I was a little disappointed because, like you'd seen, I built the other one, the blue board, and that was said that these get poor bass response, that you wanted tall, which I know from experience, like larger components have more electrical playfulness and more space in them, whilst the tolerances are probably not as tight. Electricity can certainly dance around in there more. Any components I ever had that were larger components, usually like old amplifiers and stuff, sounded way better than stuff I had also with tubes that had small components. But yeah, I wrote back and that was the answer I got. We do not have those. I was like, wow. That was the whole reason I bought it, because it said, the audiophile caps. And I was like, oh, well, I built the other one and I might as well. Well, I mean, I suppose it's good soldering practice, but it's not like I have, money to blow my nose on, It wasn't very expensive. It wasn't, like 50 cents is expensive. A quarter is expensive. If you think about, like, all the people that have died, for our freedom. Yeah, this has in and out, so. But this should go. I think this should go first. And then everything gets run through the tubes after it's EQ'd. Then it goes to the amplifier. Maybe. I don't know. I wonder if anyone else has done this project. I just kind of did the Amazon thing where it said, like, oh, people who bought this item also bought this and also bought this. And I was like, well, definitely, that would be a good idea. And then I was like, yeah, 100-watt amplifier. I wonder if that's what the jumpers are for, because I looked at them and it seems like the jumpers go to different, I kept calling them solenoids. I guess these are semiconductors, which is a giant transistor, perhaps, or an amplifying transistor. Only has 2 legs instead of 3, or 2 legs and a ground, which would be 3, right? I don't know how that works. But, well, I suppose I could show you instead of just talk about it. See if I can do it with one hand here. Yeah, these things are not made to keep unscrewing. They're not I don't know, hard wires would be nicer. But let's see if I can find what I was talking about here. Let's zoom in and scan. There's a jumper there. See? Boom. And there's one other one there. And I don't know if this has to do with, 240 volts, 120 volts, AC or DC, because I don't know a lot. There was another jumper somewhere. Was it here? Yeah. And there's another one there. So I don't I don't want to just start connecting things, but at the same time, like, would it be nice if there was direction sheets? There is schematics, but I guess I could spend my time trying to understand them. It's kind of I was cutting this wood and I had sanded all these pieces. Hold on, I gotta zoom out. Too big. I had sanded all these pieces, but I left, like all this writing on there. I was like, the writing is like severely cool. It's just because that's like the thing that I'm good at is like, making things glue together, but not necessarily, rocket genius or brain scientist or anthropologist or something. But all right, well, this is interesting. It distorts easily with a cell phone. Like if you go up into where it shows the orange on the cell phone, it will distort badly. And it doesn't transfer bass very well. And it does knock the volume down quite a bit. I was wondering about this here. Coming off its legs, I've got several resistors on either side. I was wondering if changing something would change. Well, of course it would. Change the value of how much volume this thing can get. It's probably a simple thing, and there's probably enough, preamplification and allowing of what volume is already there without soaking the tubes to get more out of this by changing one of these values, perhaps. I don't know things, I mean, I have common sense, but that's about it. That's about that. Yeah, this came out good. Yeah. The only thing about this one, like, it comes in a bag, like, not separated. Like, all the components are just smashed in there, and the legs on these were bent, and the legs on these were bent, and the legs on those were bent. That, whatever that is called, a MOSFET or a four-legged transistor there with positive and negative, and then two S's or Z's, whatever that is. Yeah, I wrote the information on here what this was before I covered it up. It says D-8081 for 80814. I thought that might tell me a little bit about the power. But it says AC. It has to be AC. You got hot, ground, hot. So I don't know, do I need a transformer or would an AC power pack be what I need? And I can line to, everything here off of the same power pack, 12 to 18 volts. I don't know. It would be helpful if someone knew and could help me. That would be useful. I'd appreciate it. But other than that, I miss my children. I'm staying busy. That's that. I just wanted to post it. And mostly I post things for my own learning and satisfaction and thinking. But, it's also good to share because that's how we learn, right? Like if somebody asks me how to do something on guitar that I know how to do, what isn't pertaining to knowing about music, knowledge, which I know very little, I would tell them, I would never say like, oh, it comes easy to me, so too bad for you, figure it out, but that's how people are, unfortunately. And so here I am with 3 useful pieces and I don't want to blow them up, and this one works. I already know it works. I could probably try this out. I could probably line in and out of this, try it through the guitar amplifier or something, and probably see if it works through the effects loop, I already tried this through the effects loop. It does work. And again, even on the guitar amp with a very low input of the guitar, the volume is extremely reduced all the way maximum. So yeah, it's a lot to learn, I guess.